Hey, good afternoon, good morning. I'm Brian Manning. I'm an asylum lawyer, and I'm here to answer your questions about winning asylum in the United States. Let me know what questions you have about asylum. But before you do that, as always, I love to hear where you guys are at. So say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. Love to see where you guys are at. Hello, hello, YouTube. Good to see you. Thank you for being here on the Asylum Answers Show. TikTok. What's up, Alice? Welcome. Ace, glad you're here. Ahmed, CD, welcome on TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. Hello, hello. Good morning, good morning. Hope everyone's doing well today. This Wednesday, March 5th. This is the Asylum Answers Show. I'm Brian Manning, and I'm an asylum lawyer. I used to be an asylum officer with the government, but now as an asylum lawyer, well, my law firm, we help immigrants all over the country, doesn't matter where you are, all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. All right. That's what we do. And I want to answer your questions about whatever you want to know about asylum today. All right. First of all, though, say hello. Let me know where you guys are watching from. Hello, hello over on YouTube. Nice. Second and last, welcome over on TikTok, DT Orange. Glad you guys are here. When day you'll stay. Glad you're with us. All right. Listen, say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. But then I want you to leave your questions. Go ahead in the chat. Let me know what questions you have about winning asylum in the United States. And I'm going to answer those questions. Before I do, look, if you want to talk with us, if you want to reach out to us, you can do that at winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com, winasylum.com. That's where you can schedule a consultation with one of our asylum professionals. Look, before I get to your questions, which, by the way, go ahead and start leaving them in the chat. All right. Before I get to your questions, though, I want to say, went offline. Now we're back. I want to say a couple words about this topic. Look, you must accept the fact that you're not in control at your asylum interview. You're not in control. What do I mean by that? Look, this came to mind because I was reading yesterday the notes that an asylum officer took from an asylum interview. So someone hired us recently after they had already had their asylum interview and it didn't go well. They got basically denied. They got what's called a referral, where they're sent to immigration court. Now the government's trying to deport them. Well, we always do a Freedom of Information Act request to get a copy of the person's entire immigration file. And we got that, and it includes the notes that the asylum officer takes. Because during your asylum interview, the officer will be typing like the whole time, and they're taking notes. They're trying to type everything they say and everything that you say, almost verbatim. Okay. And I got those notes for this person, and I saw that this person, who's now our client, they were not our client at the time they had their asylum interview. They didn't have a lawyer, but they were trying to control the interview. They were trying to talk about what they wanted to talk about. They kept trying to go back to these same themes and to like it was like they had an agenda of what they thought was important to get across, to tell the officer. And they kept trying to go back to that. It was like almost no matter what the officer said, the person, would sort of try to pivot back and try to find some way to pivot back to the stuff that they wanted to tell the officer. And I could tell, even without being able to hear the tone of voice or see any body language, I could tell just by what was typed on the paper that the officer was getting frustrated with this. And I can tell you from my experience being a former asylum officer that, yeah, it's very frustrating when an asylum applicant tries to sort of take control of the interview and tries to talk about what they want to talk about. Okay. You have to accept the fact that you're not in control and the officer is going to take you where they want to take you during the interview. Okay. They look at your case file. They decide what questions they want to ask you. And they've got a plan for how to carry out the interview. And if you try to strong arm them basically and do whatever you want to do in terms of what you want to say, it's not going to go over well. They're going to be frustrated. Okay. It makes the asylum officer upset, honestly, when someone comes in and won't answer questions directly or tries to sort of steer the conversation in a different direction. Don't do that. Okay. It hurts your case. If the officer cannot get from you the information that they need, you're going to frustrate them. Okay. You're going to make them mad. You don't want to make them mad. You want to make their life as easy as possible. And at my law firm, much of what we do is done for the purpose of trying to make the officer's life as easy as possible. Like our asylum roadmap, the filing that we prepare for our clients, it is gauged and designed to be like a map, a roadmap to help the officer get to the answer yes in your case in the easiest way possible. You want to reduce friction. You want to make their life easy, okay? And if you go into your interview thinking, I'm going to tell them this, 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 and this, and I'm going to keep going back to it, and I'm going to, no matter what they say, I'm going to try to switch over and say what I want to say. It's not going to go well, okay? If they don't get the information they need, they can't approve you, okay? But even if you do give them the things they need to know to understand your situation and understand, whether you meet the strict requirements for asylum, putting them in a bad mood, making them frustrated is not going to help you. In a close case, it may be the deciding factor. It may be the difference between, winning and losing, to be honest with you. Okay. Because look, these officers are human, just like all of us, and putting them in a bad mood can change their behavior. Okay. Just like it does with all of us. Even if we don't want to admit that, something like this could change our decision, it can. Okay. When lots of millions of little data points go into every decision that we make. All right. And if you're pushing someone and you're frustrating them and making their life hard, you're not doing yourself any favors. So what I'm saying is this: you need to go into your asylum interview with a plan about some of the core things that you want to express, but you have to be flexible. You have to answer the officer's questions. You have to let them take the lead. And when they ask a question, you answer it squarely. Even if you don't want to answer it, even if you think it's not relevant, even if you think it could be harmful for you to answer it honestly, you need to answer it honestly, and you need to answer it directly. Don't beat around the bush. Don't try to be evasive. Don't try to be clever or cute. Just answer the question squarely. And if it makes sense in the context that you're in, if it makes sense to then add a little bit more to express something that you think is favorable for your case, that you really want the officer to know, then sure, you can add a little bit more, but don't add too much. Don't try to go talk ad nauseum about things that you think are important, okay? Because I'll be honest with you, you probably don't really know, unless you have a really good asylum lawyer, you probably don't really know what the officer really, really cares about. And you're going to be trying to tell them stuff that is irrelevant at best, and at worst is really going to frustrate the officer when you try to fit it in. Okay. So you gotta, first of all, you should learn what the asylum officer wants, what they care about, what they need to know. And then you want to have a strategy that allows you to try to get some of that in the interview out onto the record. But you do have to remain flexible. You have to let the officer sort of lead the interview. You have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with the fact that you're not in control at your asylum interview. All right. And that's just the way it is. All right. Let's see. Nice. Thank you. Glad you guys are here. All right. Yilenong, good morning on YouTube. Says, good morning, Brian. I'm waiting to get my 2024 tax return. Once I get it, I'll give my case to use. Please help me fight my case. I keep watching your videos. I'm from San Jose. First language is Burmese. How can you help me find a good interpreter if I can't find a good one? I can speak English well, not super very good. Thank you for being on the show today, on the Asylum Answers show. Yilenong. We've helped a lot of people from Burma. Okay, I'm pretty sure we've never lost one of those. I'm pretty sure we've won all of our cases from Burma. All right, but it's definitely not impossible to lose a case for someone from Burma. They do lose, but they can be good cases, and we've had success with them. All right. Thank you for being on. Look, let me know in the comments what questions everyone has, and I want to answer your questions about winning asylum in the United States. First of all, on TikTok, I didn't see the name, but we have a question over on TikTok, and the question was this: can you win asylum in the United States on the basis of your opposition to Israel? Like if you are against the things that Israel is doing in Gaza or the West Bank and their policies? The answer is maybe. It's going to be tough. I would need to know a whole lot more about your situation, about whether anything bad has happened to you or anything has been threatened against you and exactly why. Just saying, oh, I'm against Israel. No, it's not going to, I can tell you this. Just saying I'm against Israel or I'm against their policies, no, is not going to be enough to win asylum. I mean, first of all, it depends on what country you're from, right? But also your particular circumstances about what's happened, what there is that makes us think you might be targeted for harm, how likely that is to happen and why it would happen. What would be motivating it are all questions that we really need to dig into deeply before I can tell you whether I think you have a real chance for success or not. And if you want to talk about that, we would do that in the context of an asylum strategy session, a consultation with us, which you can schedule at winasylum.com, winasylum.com. All right? winasylum.com. All right. DJ over on YouTube says, good morning, sir. I completed my asylum interview last Tuesday, and next Tuesday I'm going for the decision. If it's negative, I'll need the assistance of your office. My interview lasted over 4 hours, says DJ. Wow. Well, congratulations, DJ, on getting the interview done and behind you. Sounds like it was pretty long. 4 hours is a little bit long. I'd say on average, it's usually about 3 hours. So yours was a little bit long, but that doesn't necessarily mean there's a problem or anything, okay? And you said, look, if it's negative, I'll need the assistance of your office. Yeah, I mean, DJ, if you get sent to immigration court, I hope that doesn't happen. I hope you win your case. Let me be crystal clear about that. But if it ends up being a negative decision and your case gets sent over to immigration court, then you should call us right away, okay? Even if the notice to appear that you receive, even if it says, oh, your first hearing is like a year from now, it's best to start with your lawyer right away, okay? That date can change. It does often change. Sometimes it gets pushed back further out. Sometimes it gets sped up much closer to now. So it's really best to start right away with a lawyer as soon as if your case gets referred to immigration court, okay? Prosper on YouTube says, can I expedite my asylum case after just 2 years of applying? Or what is the chance of getting the interview schedule with the Arlington Asylum Office in Arlington, Virginia? Good question. The question is this. Can you expedite your asylum interview or maybe file a mandamus lawsuit if you've been waiting for 2 years? Like if you applied for asylum 2 years ago and you're waiting for your interview, what can you do? So I don't think you're going to be successful with a mandamus lawsuit having waited 2 years. At all the asylum offices, except for the Houston and Los Angeles asylum offices, we're telling people that we won't do the mandamus lawsuit for them unless they've been waiting at least 3 years. 3 years. Houston and Los Angeles, we're saying 5 right now. Everywhere else, including Arlington, we're saying 3 years. I think at 3 years, you have a pretty good chance for success with the mandamus lawsuit. What can you do before then? Well, yeah, if you can make a decent argument for it, you can request an expedite based on urgent humanitarian concerns, but that doesn't usually work. You can involve a member of Congress or the DHS ombudsman, but those very rarely work. But look, none of those are going to hurt your case, so you can try. They're not going to hurt, and they could work. Also, you can ask if the office is maintaining a short list and get on that, and you might be able to get an interview sooner through that. Again, unlikely, but it may work, and there's no harm in trying, so you might as well. Once you get to 3 years, though, or just before you get to 3 years, we should talk about suing to force your interview. Okay? All right. Nice. Economic asylum seekers need to go home and apply legally. That's it. No more, says Jed. Jed, there is no way to apply legally for asylum. Well, any application for asylum is legal. Our framework, our laws allow for people to seek asylum. So if they're here and they ask for asylum, it is done. That is legally by definition. Okay. But thanks for commenting. All right. Arriving aliens are detained. Can they be released from custody? Let's do it like this. The question is this. The question is this. What happens if you come to the U.S. border without a visa, but you ask for asylum? Look, it's impossible to predict this with any confidence right now, not just under Trump, but even under Biden. It was the policies around this, around how you would be treated and what would happen, were changing from day to day, both because of changes in actual administration policy, but also because of court cases and rulings by judges that changed how they had to deal with this. So it's really, it's in flux, okay? But I can tell you that you're probably either going to be not allowed to come in at all, or if you are allowed into the United States, you're going to be detained, at least for a while, maybe for a very long time, maybe for the entire duration of any court case that you might have. But you also may be allowed in and then deported very quickly under what's called expedited removal procedures, even if you ask for asylum. So look, there's no way to predict this, but if you get let into the country, you are going to be detained, at least for a while. You need to know that before deciding whether to come. Okay. Alrighty. We've got good morning. Let's see. Good morning, Damoa. Glad to have you with us on YouTube. Thank you for being here. For those of you who just joined or joined recently, I'm Brian Manning. I'm an asylum lawyer. I used to be an asylum officer with the government, but now, as an asylum lawyer, my law firm helps immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. All right, that's what we do all day, every day. Yi Linong says, I have 2 of my friends willing to give their case to you. Nice. Thank you. Thanks for your confidence in recommending us. Whose case had been dismissed in LA court. A lawyer helped them asylum case in LA immigration office. They lost a bunch of money. I'm sorry they lost a bunch of money. Happy to talk with them. Like they can, Yi Linong, the best way to schedule a consultation with us is go to winasylum.com. WINASYLUM.com. Again, that's winasylum.com. That's the easiest, quickest way to schedule a consultation. All right. On your mobile, it looks like this when you go to winasylum.com. It's really quick to get set up with us. No problem at all. We want to talk. I want you to talk with one of our asylum professionals so we can get to know your case, get to know your situation, and tell you whether we think that we're in a position to help you. If we think we might be able to help you, that we can add real value, we're going to explain how. We'll tell you concretely what steps we're going to take to give you the best possible chance of winning your case. All right. All right. Wow. Yeah. Ismael Quadra says, morning. Someone who came in illegally 25 years ago, can they somehow get citizenship? Clean record. Look, for people in that circumstance, marrying a U.S. citizen is probably going to be the only way for that person to get status here. Okay. But even then it's a little bit tricky. It's not like super straightforward. Okay. But yeah, there's usually not a lot of good routes if someone came without permission. Okay. All right. The next question. Is it safe to withdraw asylum while I-130 has been received along with I-485? Good question from Family is Everything. And the question is this. Is it okay to go ahead and withdraw your asylum claim if you've got a green card application pending? Like, let's say maybe based on marriage or through family, your family member submitted an I-130 for you, and you're also submitting the green card application form I-485. Is it safe then to just say, you know what, USCIS, I want to withdraw my asylum claim. I want to get rid of it. I don't want to seek asylum anymore. The answer is no. You should not do that. Look, you never know what's going to happen. Even if it's a legitimate marriage and a good-looking green card case based on marriage, those cases get denied sometimes still, okay? You should not give up your asylum claim unless and until you get that green card in your hand based on this other process, okay? It doesn't do any harm to keep your asylum claim going, to keep it active. That asylum claim is not going to hurt or undermine that family-based green card case, okay, or any kind of green card case. So keep the asylum claim open until you get that green card in your hand, and then you can withdraw your asylum claim. All right. Good question, Bezod. Bezod says, does changing your religion, is it considered an exception to the 1-year asylum deadline? What if converting takes 3 to 4 years? What date is considered? These are very good questions. Good question. The question is this. Can changing your religion be considered a changed circumstance that would allow you to get around the 1-year filing deadline for filing an asylum application? And the answer is yes, if that puts you at risk, right? you previously didn't need asylum, but then you changed your religion, and in your country, maybe that's a thing that can put you at real risk of being persecuted because you changed religions, then yes, that could be a changed circumstance. You do have to file within a reasonable time after the change occurs, right? You should do so within a couple months. The question then becomes, well, what point counts as the change of religion? Is it when you join it, when you start going to this new church or mosque or whatever it may be, or temple, or is it, once you officially join, or is it once you're baptized? What is considered the change, the change point? That's difficult to say. There's arguments that could be made around that. We should talk about that in detail in the context of a consultation. I want you to schedule a consultation with us. But there's probably a good chance that we can make a good faith and maybe even a strong argument about why, something pretty more recent rather than much further in the past could count as the moment that the officer should consider to be the changed circumstance for purposes of the 1-year filing deadline. Okay. All right. Behzad, please schedule a consultation with us, okay? Go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com, okay? Kamalpreet says, what's the normal waiting time at the immigration court once your asylum case gets rejected at the asylum office? Good question. The question is this. How long is your asylum case going to take in immigration court after it's been referred from the asylum office? So you went to the asylum office, you had your interview, and they said, nope, you don't qualify for asylum. We're not denying you. We're going to refer your case over to immigration court. How long is it going to take then in immigration court? Impossible to predict. It depends on the judge to whom you're assigned. Many of the judges, most of them that have been there for a while, have a huge backlog where it's going to take years to get your case done with them. However, there are some newer and more recently hired judges that have a more open calendar. And if you get with one of them through the random assignment process, then it might go really quickly. You might be done with your whole case in like a year, but it's at least going to be a few months. It's probably going to be multiple years, but it's really impossible to predict with any confidence which of those it may be, or in general, how long it might take you. Okay. But it's worth getting started now with your lawyer to start working on it now and build the strongest case possible. Okay. Fidel says, after creating an account in MyUSCIS to start filing the form I-589 online, it's not possible because the button start is not activated, like it's grayed out. You mean, is that the same with others claiming? Fidel, I don't know. I think we submitted one yesterday at my office. I don't think this problem was happening yesterday, or at least if it was, then my office was, my colleagues were able to get around it because I know we filed one online yesterday. I don't know about today. I haven't checked today. I haven't heard anything from my office about any problems today. Maybe try a different browser. Like if you're on Chrome, go try Safari or something like that. All right. But I've not seen that problem. But hopefully it'll maybe it's a glitch that will get fixed sometime today or tomorrow, or maybe you can try a different browser or something. Good luck though, solving that problem. All right. Kitty Love Forever says, can I get adjustment of status via EB3 while my asylum is pending? Maybe. It's tricky. It's kind of a gray area. If you filed for asylum while you still had the status that you came into the country on, assuming you came on, like, let's say a tourist visa or a student visa, and you applied for asylum while you still had that status, and you never lost it, and you never had any time where you were either without status or at least without having the asylum claim pending, then you may be able to adjust status to EB3. This question of whether someone under that circumstance can adjust is kind of a gray area. There are some asylum offices, some what they call USCIS field offices who handle this application will say, okay, that's okay. You can adjust under that circumstance, but some say you can't. Under like the law, I think there's a good argument to be made as to why you should be able to do so. But it's a little bit tricky. People do have problems with it. It's something you should definitely work through with your lawyer who's helping you, hopefully, with that EB3. Okay. Nice. All right, nice. My assignment review was short. I was not asked any questions from the personal statement I submitted. Why? Ooh, says Abel or Abel. Very interesting. Good question. The question is this: what does it mean if your asylum interview is super, super short, like an hour? Look, most interviews at the asylum office are like probably 3 hours on average. So if yours is really short, like 45 minutes, maybe it's the shortest I've seen, or an hour, hour and a half, is that a good thing or a bad thing? What does that mean? Well, look, it could be either. And honestly, it probably does mean that the officer either from the get-go, from the beginning, was very confident that they were going to approve you, or very confident they were going to deny you, that they had pretty much made up their mind and they just needed to ask a few sort of qualifying questions to get to the final decision. I've seen it go both ways. I've seen cases where the officer does a very short interview because the case is very, very clear, because the asylum lawyer did an excellent job in preparing it on paper, and fighting the case on paper and explaining it. But I've also seen the opposite, where just from everything in the record, it's clear the person does not qualify for asylum. And so the interview can be really short. Okay, it's probably one of those two things, but I can't tell you which without knowing your case really well or knowing how the interview went. But good luck. All right, good luck. All right, nice. So why should you file for mandamus? Oh, I love talking. Yeah, I'm going to answer that question for sure. Thanks for asking it. The question is this: what are the benefits of forcing your asylum interview through a mandamus lawsuit? Look, I think the sooner you get your interview, the better your chances for success. There's multiple reasons, including, look, with every passing month and definitely every passing year, the officer is just more likely to say, look, I know some bad things happened, whatever, you had problems, but that was a long time ago. Why do you think now, after all this time, they'd want to hurt you? I'm not sure you're still at risk now. With every month, or definitely every year that goes by, that line of thinking just becomes sort of stronger and stronger and harder to overcome. Also, though, another reason is that country conditions in your country may change, or at least look like they've changed in a way that undermines your case, that can hurt your case, okay? And then finally, look, there's the Trump effect. I believe that with every month that Trump is in office, the second time around, the approval rate is going to decrease. I think it's going to go down and down and down because of both policy changes, but also the general anti-immigrant atmosphere and sentiment that Trump is bringing with him to the government. I think it's going to become harder and harder to win asylum. I think the sooner you get your interview, the better. I think you should push forward. If you've been waiting for multiple years, you should talk to an asylum lawyer about suing in a mandamus lawsuit to get your interview now. Okay, we've been having tons of success with these lawsuits. Look, let me preface this by saying past performance or past results does not guarantee future results, okay? But I can tell you we filed over 100 of these lawsuits in the last about year and a half, and we haven't lost one yet. We have not lost one yet, okay? That doesn't guarantee that we're going to have success in any particular case, or in your case, or your case, or your case, or whatever. But I mention it to make the point that it's a very powerful tool, all right? The mandamus lawsuit, this asylum delay lawsuit, is a powerful tool. Our clients love it because it works. If you're sick of waiting and you want to get certainty and confidence about your future, and if you want to give yourself the best possible chance, I think you should talk about suing in a mandamus lawsuit, because I do believe that, generally speaking, the sooner you get your interview, the better your chances for success. Look, you're going to face your interview at some point. If you don't sue, you're probably going to be waiting multiple years longer. And it's at that point, I think it's going to be even harder to win your case. Okay. You're going to face it sometime. I think it's better to face it now than later. Okay. We love helping people do this. You can schedule a consultation with us to talk about it by going to the webpage winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com, winasylum.com. Okay. Damoa says, Emmanuel says, if your case has been denied, what are the chances that you can still win your asylum case? Good question. The question is this: if your case gets referred from USCIS over to immigration court, is there a chance to actually win once you're in court? And the answer is yes, absolutely. Look, It used to be the case that the approval rates for asylum cases were much higher at the asylum offices than in immigration court. But a few years ago, that switched. Now, the approval rate is higher in immigration court than it is at the asylum office. And I don't remember the exact numbers, but I remember seeing maybe a year ago or maybe 6 months ago a statistic showing that of these cases that get where the asylum office says no and they refer you to the immigration court, a very high percentage of those go on to get approved. In other words, it's basically like the judges are disagreeing with the asylum officers. The asylum officer said no, but the judge says, you're wrong, asylum officer. Yes, asylum granted. So yeah, it does happen a lot. So don't give up hope. If just because the fact that you didn't have success at the asylum office doesn't mean you're going to lose in court. You should keep fighting and do your best to present the strongest case possible. There is hope. Okay? There is hope. Are interviews fast in Chicago? Look, for all the asylum offices, there's a lot of people who've applied recently who've gotten their interviews very quickly. There's no guarantee, but if you apply now, you might get it quickly. So you need to be prepared for that, Sarab. Okay. Chicago's a good office overall. It's a pretty high approval rate, not as high as like in California and Los Angeles and San Francisco. But overall, Chicago's a pretty good office to be in terms of the favorability because of the approval rate. So that's good. All right. All right. Let's go see what's going on TikTok. Nice. While you have an asylum case, can you get married? Good question. The question is this. Can you get a green card through marriage if you get married to a U.S. citizen while your asylum case is pending with USCIS? And the answer is probably, yeah. Look, the fact that you have an asylum case pending doesn't keep you from getting your green card based on that marriage to a U.S. citizen. And actually, getting a green card based on marriage to a U.S. citizen is a stronger, let me put it like this, it has a higher approval rate. That case has a much higher approval rate than asylum cases. So it's a much more sure thing. If you have a legitimate, true marriage, you're not doing it for immigration fraud purposes, then you'll probably get approved for that marriage-based green card. So you should definitely pursue it. But look, pursue both at the same time. Do not withdraw your asylum claim. Don't pull back your asylum claim unless and until you get that green card in your hand, that green card based on the marriage case. Wait till you get that before you pull up your asylum claim, before you take back your asylum claim, terminate it, okay? That's that. All right, you're welcome, Demoa. My pleasure. Nice. All right. I'm an Afghan refugee in California. My wife has a P2 application. Should I file an I-730 for her? Yeah. I don't see why you wouldn't. Yeah. I mean, she has an application pending. She doesn't have status, right? Or maybe, I don't know, maybe she has TPS, but she doesn't have something permanent or really even long-term. You can give her that. You can do an I-730 so that she gets refugee status through you. Then yeah, you should consider doing that. You should definitely consider doing that. Probably a good idea to do that. Okay. I won my asylum in court. Am I going to have another interview for my green card application? Good question. The question is this: are you going to have an interview for your green card case after you've won asylum? So you won asylum, right? And then you can submit a green card application based on the fact that you won asylum. And the question is USCIS going to actually give you an interview for that green card application, or are they just going to approve it based on the documents, the papers that you submit? And the question is, it could be either one. Historically, or in recent years, let's say, they didn't interview that many people who were seeking the green card based on asylum status. But I think that could change under Trump. I think there's a good chance they will start interviewing a whole lot more of those. So yeah, there's a decent chance that you'll be interviewed. Look, these cases, it may seem straightforward, but there are problems pretty frequently where the immigration officer will look through your entire case file, not just your green card materials, but your entire immigration file, and try to find inconsistencies between things you've said or submitted. and then they can deny your green card, but they can also try to take away your asylum status. Okay, and so you need to do this green card process, the application and any interview, very thoughtfully, very carefully, with the help of a good lawyer. Okay. If someone entered legally on a visa and then applies for asylum, do they fall under expedited removal? No, not under. They shouldn't. Not under the definition of the current policy. No, if you came legally on a visa, you would not be subject to expedited removal. Okay. Sarab says, I applied after 4 years. Can I still win? Good question. The question is this: can you still win asylum if you apply for asylum after you've already been in the United States for a year? Like, what if you've been here 2, 3, 4 years? Yeah, it might be possible to win. Look, there's a 1-year filing deadline that says you need to apply during your first year. But there are exceptions to that. There's 2 categories of exceptions called the changed circumstances exception and the extraordinary circumstances exception. And within those, there's a lot of things that can count as one of those exceptions. And it's tricky. It's a complicated area of law. But the truth is, yeah, a lot of times people do qualify, even though they applied for asylum after they'd been here 2 years, 4 years, 8 years, whatever. But it's something that I urge you to talk with an asylum lawyer about, okay? About whether, there's a decent chance of you having success with establishing one of these exceptions, because it does complicate the case. It makes it tricky. So it's something I think you should definitely talk about an asylum lawyer with. EAD timing, is it coming along, or are there delays nowadays? I haven't seen delays yet. Or I haven't seen greater delays than was the case under the Biden administration. So that's good news. All right. Israr, will Trump cancel asylum, or will he just make it very hard to win asylum? Good question. The question is this: is Donald Trump going to just straight up cancel asylum, do away with it, eliminate asylum as a thing? We shouldn't be able to do that under the law. It's not within his power, but he may try. And the question is, will he succeed if he tries? Will he try? And if he does, will he succeed? Look, I've not heard Trump or his people yet say that they want to get rid of asylum completely. Okay. And if they tried, there would definitely be a lot of pushback from people suing, and the judges would probably agree with the people suing and say, you can't get rid of asylum, Trump, without actually having Congress change the laws. Would he abide by those judges' rulings? I don't know. Hopefully. But look, they are going to try to make it harder to win. They already have. They're changing their interpretations about certain things within asylum to make it harder to win. And there's also just a growing anti-immigrant atmosphere and sentiment at the asylum offices and immigration court that I think is going to lead to a lot more denials. And there's going to be a lot of little things they're going to do to make it harder and harder and harder. So it's more important than ever that you put together a great case. It's not going to be impossible. We're still winning under Trump. We're going to keep winning under Trump. It's not going to be impossible, but you got to put together a great case. Okay. Alrighty. Nice. All right. JB Singh says asylum and biometric was done. No case found for this A number. You're talking about an immigration court, the ECAS thing. Yeah. So the question is this: what should you do if you want to apply for asylum, but you came to the border and you know that you're supposed to, at least you believe you're supposed to have your case done in immigration court, but when you go to the website for the immigration courts or you call the number, they say, no, we don't have this case. Online it will say, no case found for this A number. Or if you call, they'll say, no, that's not showing up in the system. Your A number isn't showing up. What can you do? Look, this happens all the time. It's not uncommon. You're going to have to submit your asylum application with USCIS. Assuming that when you came to the United States, the government created for you what is a document called a notice to appear, which if you came to the border, they probably did. If they created this document, but they haven't yet actually gotten around to mailing it over to the immigration court, which happens all the time, then your data doesn't show up in the court system. You can't apply for asylum with the court. Instead, you have to apply with USCIS. USCIS will accept the application, but then pass it over to the immigration court, and that will trigger your processing in the immigration court. So your case will then show up in immigration court registers, and you'll eventually get called for hearings at the immigration court. But you got to apply with USCIS, and you still need to apply during your first year in the United States. Remember that. Okay. Are they going to ask you about your case at your biometrics appointment? Good question. The question is this. Are you going to get asked substantive questions about your asylum case when you go to your biometrics appointment? No. Look, it's purely administrative. They're just going to do the biometrics processing. They're not going to say, well, why are you afraid of returning to your country? They're not going to ask you questions about your application form, or if you've already submitted evidence, they're not going to ask you questions about that. They're not going to ask you anything about your underlying case. Look, there's people at this biometrics appointment that have applied for all kinds of different immigration benefits, not just asylum seekers. And the purpose of this facility is not to get information about people's cases, just to do the biometrics processing. So the good news is you don't have to worry about being ready to explain yourself or fight your case at your biometrics appointment. It's just administrative. It's easy. You don't have to do anything to prepare for it, and you don't have to stress about it. It's easy. All right? It'll be all right. Alrighty. What do we have here? Nice. Is it necessary to have the lawyer at my asylum interview in asylum office? Says Jonathan. Yeah, good question. The question is this. Do you need a lawyer with you at your USCIS asylum interview? Look, I definitely think it helps. Okay. I say this based on my experience, both as a former asylum officer and now from what I've seen as an asylum lawyer. Look, asylum officers behave better when there's a lawyer participating in the interview. They just tend to be more professional, right? It's like someone's watching them, holding them accountable, and they just tend to be on their best behavior. They act more professionally. They tend, I think, to be more thorough and thoughtful. Basically, they do a better and fairer job, I think, when they know there's a lawyer involved participating in the interview. And look, the lawyer can jump in. We jump in all the time to clear up communication, errors in communication or misunderstandings. We often are able to facilitate little aspects of the interview also by helping to explain things. At the end, we make a closing argument, a statement where we drive home the most important points or help to educate the officer and clear up any misunderstandings or just to put a fine point on the most important aspects of the case. So yeah, I think having an asylum lawyer with you, or at least participating in your interview, can make a big difference. Okay. All right, Ismail, we don't do those cases. We don't do marriage-based cases, so or fiance cases. So I would recommend talking with an immigration lawyer who focuses on that kind of case. Rupal says, best lawyer. Thank you. Very, very kind of you, Rupal. That's the kind of comment we love. Thank you. Appreciate the kind words on YouTube. Alrighty. Let's see what's going on TikTok. I have an asylum pending NTA. However, I'm married to a U.S. citizen. Can I file VAWA? Is it a good idea? Look, if you think that you qualify, I recommend that you work with a lawyer who focuses on VAWA cases. If they think that you have a good chance or at least a chance of qualifying, then yeah, it would make sense to apply for that. I think you should apply for, actually, let me do it like this. The question is this. If you've got an asylum case pending, but you think you might be able to get status through some other route, like a marriage-based green card case, or a VAWA, the Violence Against Women's Act, or a T visa, or a U visa, or employment-based status. If you think that you might be eligible for one of those, should you pursue them or just stick with your asylum claim? Look, you should pursue, in my opinion, every route to long-term status that may be available to you. So if you're being advised by an immigration lawyer who specializes or focuses on those other kinds of things, and they say, look, I think you have a real case here. I think you have a chance of winning this. You should apply. Then yeah, I think you should apply. Look, your asylum case will not hurt those other case types that I just mentioned about. If you're trying to get like a green card through one of those, having an asylum case pending will not negatively affect any of those cases. And those cases will not negatively affect your asylum claim. Keep pursuing all options that you have to get status at the same time until you get a green card in your hand. Okay? and then you can drop the other avenues. RuPaul says, I helped my friend a lot from your videos. Good. Thank you. But glad to hear it. By the way, those of you on TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, go to YouTube. YouTube's where I have all my best stuff. Okay. You know, TikTok is great, whatever. But like, if you want to really get the best stuff that's going to help you the most to win your asylum case, you need to go to YouTube. My channel on YouTube is called Political Asylum Lawyers. That's the name of my law firm, Political Asylum Lawyers. It's the name of my YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube, search Political Asylum Lawyers, you'll find the channel. And I've got like really detailed tutorials. I've got very in-depth trainings. Some of them are long, some of them are like an hour. So there's one that's like 3 hours. Very detailed stuff that's going to help you, I think, give yourself the best possible chance of securing your future in America through asylum. Okay. How long Afrique in Avant says, hey Brian, how long to expect to get a travel document after biometrics in New Jersey? Well, did you already apply for the travel document? That's the first step. You don't get it automatically. They don't just send it to you automatically after doing biometrics. You have to actually apply for that travel document. I don't know. I don't know what the wait time, the average processing time is. Last I checked, it was pretty long. Last I checked, to get an advanced parole based on a pending asylum case, it was like 1.5 years when I checked maybe a couple months ago. So it's quite a while. But you can ask to have it expedited. If you've got some kind of emergency circumstance or emergency reason you need to travel, you can ask to speed that up, and sometimes they say yes. There's no harm in asking. It won't hurt you to ask, okay? All right. Good morning. What? Says, good morning. I applied for I-765 and it's been 60 days for pending asylum, not approved yet. You mean your I-765 has been pending 60 days or your asylum case? Your I-765, I assume is what you mean. So let's address the question like this. When should you get worried after applying for your work permit based on your pending asylum case? If it's taken a while to get that work permit approval in the mail, when should you start worrying? Look, you can apply for the work permit 150 days after applying for asylum. From the moment that you apply, they can't approve it for 30 days. They won't even pick it up and look at it until you reach 180 days. So if you apply at 150, they wait 30 days until you get to 180, and then they will pick it up and look at it and adjudicate it. But it usually takes a couple or few weeks. So it's not uncommon at all for it to take 2 months to get a decision back after you've done your application, your work permit application. Okay. So if you get to 3 months waiting after you applied for your work permit, based on pending asylum, I would start to worry then and then reach out to USCIS then. Cause on average it's taken about 1.5 months to 2 months, I think, for first time applicants. That is for first time applicants. If you get to like 3 months, then yeah, I would, do a service request to check on the status of it. Okay. How long will I be detained if I cross the border illegally? Good question, Kevin. The question is this. If you come to the United States without a visa and you ask for asylum at the border, or if you cross illegally, like not at a checkpoint, just somewhere else, and you cross illegally and you get caught or you turn yourself in, how long can you expect to be detained? At least a few hours, very likely longer, very likely several days, maybe many days, maybe weeks, maybe months. There's been a few cases where it's even been years. Look, under the current administration, they want to hold you as long as possible. Well, first, actually, that's not true. They want to deport you. You might not, first of all, you might not be let into the country at all. If you're let in, you are going to be detained at least a few hours, likely longer than that. If they can't deport you quickly, their second option that they want to do is to hold you as long as possible, but they don't have bed space to hold everyone for forever. So, or while your asylum case is pending. So they might let you go, but look, you do have to be prepared for the fact that you could be detained for a long time. So keep that in mind before deciding to come. Okay. And there's no way to predict really how long, unfortunately. All right. Chef Sparrow says, if someone's brother died by gun violence, do they have a good case surrounded by those incidents? Not necessarily, Chef. Chef, if that happened to you, if your brother, I'm really sorry to hear that. That's very sad news. I'm really sorry to hear that. I mean, look, the question is this: will you have a good chance of winning your asylum case if something really bad has happened to a family member? Like if a family member was harmed or even killed, and there's circumstances that kind of involve you, does that mean you'll have a good chance of winning your asylum case? Not necessarily. Look, it only helps you to win to the extent that you can show that the fact that that happened suggests that you also are in danger of being harmed in a very grave way in the future. But even that is not enough. You also have to show that the motivation behind you being harmed would be the fact that you possess one of the 5 protected characteristics under U.S. asylum law: your race, religion, nationality, political opinion, and membership in a particular social group. So there's a lot of things you have to prove to win your case. So it's not as simple as just like, oh, something terrible happened to my family, therefore I have a good asylum case. No, unfortunately, it's not that simple. We need to talk in detail about your situation so we can give you a better sense of how strong of a case we think you might actually have. Okay, let's talk. If you're ready to talk with us, we'd love to do so in the context of an asylum strategy session. Okay, you can schedule an asylum strategy session at this URL, winasylum.com. That's WINASYLUM.com, winasylum.com. It's super quick and easy to get set up with your consultation. We love helping, working through with people to understand what they're going through, understand their immigration goals, their priorities, and to get to know your case and tell you whether we think that, we can help you. Okay. If we think we might be able to add value and help you, we're going to tell you how. Like, we're going to tell you, explain in concrete, detailed steps what exactly we're going to do. We're going to explain to you our asylum action plan. This is a 3-step plan, a 3-step framework that I've developed based on my 11 years of experience working for the government's 2 main agencies for asylum and refugee matters, but then also based on my experience as an asylum lawyer. All right. And it's helping us to help our clients give themselves the best possible chance of winning their case, of securing their future in America through asylum. All right. All right. Nice. The asylum delay, can it make my officer mad to deny me? Says Sanjit. No, good question, Sanjit. Thank you. Thanks for the question. The question is this: will suing the government to force them to give you your delayed asylum interview, will that hurt your underlying asylum case? Look, I completely understand this thinking, right? It makes sense to think like, oh, if I sue the government, it could make them mad, or make them want to get revenge on me for daring to sue them and then take it out on me and deny my asylum case. But really, no, I don't think it will hurt your case at all. We've been doing this a ton lately with great success, and I don't think, we've not been seeing cases be denied at a higher rate where we've sued to get the interview. And look, I think there's multiple reasons for why it won't hurt your case. The officer might not even know that you sued. That information might not even be available to them. It wasn't available to me when I was an asylum officer. We didn't know that someone had sued to get their case, their interview. Second, even if they know, I don't think they'll care much. It's not a big deal. We sue all the time in the United States. Just not a big deal. And third, they can't use it against you. They can't. It's not a negative factor that they can legitimately use in their analysis to justify a negative decision. Their supervisor won't accept that. It's not something they can base a negative decision on. Okay, so no, I don't think suing will hurt your case at all. All right, we love suing the government. All right, we do it all the time. Can I contact you if I'm back? If I'm financially stable, Lazaro? Of course. Lazaro, you're talking about coming to the border. Yeah, we do only talk to people like for a consultation once they're already in the United States. So if you do come back and you're interested in getting help with asylum, then absolutely reach out at that time. Okay. Adonai says, I don't have connection with my friends anymore, but they sent me an affidavit. Will that raise a question and lose in credibility? You mean the fact that you Why the fact? Well, what the fact that you don't have connection with them? What do you mean by that? Like I guess you're not in touch with them much, but you got an affidavit from them. Can you explain, Adonai, a little bit more what you mean? Why you think it might hurt your credibility, or what you're talking about? All right. All right. Nice. Can I apply for a refugee travel document from outside of the U.S.? Ahmad? I don't honestly. I don't know. Good question. I don't know. I have to look at the instructions and the policy manual on that. I don't know if you can apply for it. You mean for? Oh, well, look, if you're an asylee or a refugee and you left the United States and you're at, I was confused. I thought you were talking about I-730, but you're talking about a refugee travel document? I don't think so. Yeah, you should look into it, but I don't think so. Could you repeat the website? Chef Sparrow says, winasylum.com. That's WINASYLUM.com. Again, that's winasylum.com. WINASYLUM.com. That's where you can schedule an asylum strategy session with one of our asylum professionals so we can get to know you, get to understand your situation, and tell you whether we think we can help you. And if we think we can, we're going to tell you how. We're going to explain to you exactly in great detail what steps we're going to take, what our plan, what our strategy is to give you the best possible chance of winning your asylum case. winasylum.com. Okay, so yeah, I got what you're saying. Adonai says, you explained, I lost connection with my friend a long time ago. My mom asked for their affidavit and they sent it to me, but I didn't make any connection for a long time. Will the asylum officer think I'm lying? No. No, the fact that you haven't been in touch with them for a long time and your mom asked for it, no, I don't know. I don't think that hurts your credibility or is a bad or negative thing. It's okay. All right. Okay. Omath T says, what if my application is closed without getting an interview? Do you mean at the asylum office, did they send it to court already, or did they just say, we are administratively closing it? It's hard for me to tell you what your options are, what you can do, if I don't know exactly what happened, like what you mean by closed. Okay. Yeah. We'd have to know more details about what happened and what's going on. If you want to talk about that, go to winasylum.com and schedule a consultation. Okay. Loic says, good to see you, Loic, from Congo Kinshasa. There's a rumor that the judges, that there are tougher immigration officers and judges being appointed. Do you have any advice for us, leading people to think that being asylum pending is kind of comfortable zone? Yeah, no, I do think that, I don't think asylum officers, that hiring process, I don't think that Trump is necessarily hiring asylum officers who want to deny more people, any more so than has been the case in the past. But with immigration judges, yes, I do think that the Trump administration is going out of its way to fire judges that were viewed as too pro-immigrant, too flexible, and gave asylum too much, and purposely hiring judges that think will be tougher. Yes, I do think they are doing that, based from what I'm seeing from my friends and colleagues talking about the hirings and stuff. Yeah, I do think so. Okay. If Takar says, what about filing asylum within 1 year deadline, but out of status sometime after 6 months? How does that affect the case's merits? Good question. The question is this: will the fact that you are applying for asylum after you've already lost your immigration status hurt your chances for winning your case? So let's say that you apply before you reach the 1 year filing deadline. So before you've been in the United States for 1 year, but after you lost your, let's say, tourist status. Most tourists are admitted for 6 months, right? So let's say you apply at month 7. You've lost your tourist status, but you're still within 1 year. The good news is that, no, it won't affect your case negatively. The fact that you're applying outside of your tourist status, no, the officer doesn't care. Not a problem. Look, I think in general, the sooner you apply, the better. And I think that it looks a little bit better in the officer's eyes to have applied within your first couple or few months in the U.S. but it's not a big deal that you're applying outside of, after you've lost your tourist status. It's not a formal negative factor thing against you. And even like subconsciously or psychologically, the impact is, it's going to be minimal to zero. It's okay. Like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Okay. That's what I'm saying. Don't worry about it. That's what I'm saying. All right. All right. Got to go. That's it for today. Again, I'm Brian Manning, and it's truly an honor and a pleasure to serve you, support you in your asylum journey. Before we go, if you want to talk, we would love to do that in the context of an asylum strategy session. We want to get to know you, understand your goals, understand your case, okay, and analyze it and tell you what we think, tell you whether we think we're in a position to support you, okay? So go right now, open up a new tab, new web page, whatever, go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com, winasylum.com. That's where you can schedule this asylum strategy session. We want to talk, so do it now, okay? All right, thanks everyone. Have a great day.